Look, there is no need for you to speak unless I ask you a question. What is your name?
I'm shocked.
What if the stars who lit up Hollywood's golden age were hiding secrets darker than anything they played on screen? Picture this: the glitz, the glamour, the red carpets of the 30s and 40s. Names so big they still echo today. But beneath that shiny surface, some of these icons weren't just acting evil. They were living it. From brutal cover-ups to twisted scandals, we're diving into the most notorious actors of that era. Legends whose shadows stretch right into 2025. And trust me, it gets crazier. Buckle up, because these stories will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Tinseltown's so-called golden years. Hollywood's golden age dazzled the world with its sparkle. Think shimmering gowns, packed theaters, and films that turned actors into gods. The 30s and 40s were a dream machine, churning out classics like Gone with the Wind and Casablanca, where stars like Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh reigned supreme. It was an era sold as pure magic, a time when studios polished every frame to perfection. But that glossy image? It was a lie, and a big one. Behind the scenes, some of these idols were tangled in messes so wild they'd make your head spin. Tempers, buried accusations, and lives unraveling in the shadows. It was all there, locked away by the same studios that built their fame. The reason this happened? Power, money, and a desperate need to keep the illusion alive.
Mary, who's down there with you?
It's George Bailey, Mother.
George Bailey? What's he want?
But listen to this. Those glittering icons you adore, some of them were monsters in disguise, and their secrets are about to spill. Number 1, Wallace Beery. Wallace Beery was a titan of the golden age. Gruff, lovable, and larger than life on screen. He snagged an Oscar for The Champ in 1932, playing a washed-up boxer with a heart of gold, and fans ate it up. But off-screen, that heart was nowhere to be found. Beery had a reputation for a temper that didn't just flare, it exploded. The whispers started in 1937, after a night at a Hollywood hotspot turned deadly. Rumor has it he got into a scrap with comedian Ted Healy in a parking lot. Fists flew, and Healy ended up on the ground, lifeless. Studios didn't blink. They swooped in, cash changed hands, and the story vanished. Some say MGM even pinned it on a nobody to protect their star. Decades later, ex-posts and film blogs still dig into it, piecing together a cover-up that reeks of old-school Tinseltown grit. It gets worse. Beery's rage wasn't a one-off. Insiders claimed he bullied co-stars and terrorized sets, leaving a trail of fear masked by his goofy grin. That's just the start of this twisted tale. Number 2, Charlie Chaplin.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business.
Charlie Chaplin was the king of silent films, the little tramp with the bowler hat who made the world laugh. His genius built classics like The Gold Rush and Modern Times, earning him a fortune and a legion of fans. But peel back that charm, and you'll find a life knotted up in chaos. Chaplin had a thing for young girls, way too young. He married his second wife, Lita Gray, when she was just 16, and the pattern didn't stop there. By the 40s, accusations piled up. Paternity suits, political heat over alleged communist ties, and a messy exile from the US that left jaws on the floor. Fast forward to now, 2020's X threads and YouTube deep dives call him out, with some branding him a predator hiding behind a cane and a smile. It gets crazier. His scandals were so loud that J. Edgar Hoover himself reportedly kept a file on him, itching to take him down. Chaplin played the innocent fool on screen, but off it, he was juggling lies that still unravel today. And there's more waiting around the corner. Number 3, Kirk Douglas.
I imagine a God for slaves, and I pray.
Kirk Douglas was the tough guy heartthrob of the golden age. All chiseled jaw and fiery spirit, he powered through hits like Spartacus and Paths of Glory, building a legacy that screamed strength. But there's a shadow over that shine, a rumor so grim it's clung to his name for decades. Word around Hollywood was that in the 50s, he crossed a line with Natalie Wood, a rising starlet barely out of her teens. The story goes that a hotel room meeting turned ugly. Accusations surfaced, hushed up fast by studio muscle. No courtroom ever touched it, but the whispers never died. In 2021, Natalie's sister Lana dropped hints in her memoir, fanning the flames online. Ex-posts exploded, dredging up old gossip with new fury. It's not all. Douglas brushed it off as nonsense till his last breath in 2020. But the speculation keeps growing, painting a man who might have wielded power in all the wrong ways. What's next will make your skin crawl. Number 4, Joan Crawford.
Please, Trog.
Let me have the child.
Joan Crawford was the queen of the golden age screen. Those piercing eyes and that iron will turned her into a legend. She clawed her way from poverty to Oscars, owning films like Mildred Pierce with a ferocity that mesmerized audiences. But behind the mansion doors, the crown slipped. Her daughter Christina's 1978 tell-all Mommy Dearest ripped the mask off. Stories of wire hangers, screaming fits, and a mother who ruled with terror, not love. Hollywood gasped, but Joan called it lies from the grave. Flash to today, and the debate's hotter than ever. X threads and TikTok rants in the 2000s and 20s dig into whether she was a monster or just misunderstood. It gets worse. Insiders swore she'd crush anyone. Co-stars, lovers, even her own kids, to keep her throne. That icy ambition built her empire, but it left scars some say you can still feel. And there's a wild twist coming up. Number 5, Frank Fay.
This is a little thing that came to me in the middle of the night.
I beg your pardon?
Frank Fay was a name that once lit up marquees, a vaudeville star turned golden age player with a razor-sharp wit and a swagger to match. He ruled the stage in the 20s, and even snagged a role in 1931's God's Gift to Women, charming crowds with his slick style. But that shine didn't last. The bottle got him first. Booze fueled a temper that turned vicious fast. He'd lash out at his wife, Barbara Stanwyck, back when she was still climbing the ladder. And insiders said the bruises weren't just rumors. By the 40s, he'd torched every bridge in Hollywood, blacklisted not by studios, but by his own chaos. It gets crazier. Lately, niche blogs and ex-posts have dragged his name back, piecing together a downfall so ugly it's almost forgotten. Until now, Fay went from king to outcast, a cautionary tale buried under Tinseltown's glitter. And what's next will tie it all together. Number 6, Mickey Rooney.
I'm supposed to be a good writer. People bet their money on me. Little guys that can't afford to lose. I win for them. I like to win for them.
Mickey Rooney was the pint-sized powerhouse of the golden age, a kid star who ruled the box office with his Andy Hardy charm. By the late 30s, he was MGM's golden boy, raking in millions with that wide grin and boundless energy. But behind the spotlight, Rooney was a tornado of chaos. 8 marriages, starting with Ava Gardner at 21, tell you he couldn't keep it together. Rumors swirled in the 2010s, fueled by books like The Life and Times of Mickey Rooney, claiming he preyed on a teenage Elizabeth Taylor, catching him mid-act with his pregnant wife's shock as the kicker. It gets worse. His temper was legendary. Co-stars dodged his tantrums, and later in life, his own family accused him of draining their accounts while he played the helpless old man. That squeaky clean image, a front for a guy who lived fast, broke hearts and left wreckage wherever he went. Hold tight, this ride's far from over. Number 7, Faye Dunaway.
You look just like a little hillbilly boy, I do declare. Oh, mercy me! Oh.
Faye Dunaway swept onto the scene with Bonnie and Clyde, a glamorous firestorm who could steal any frame. Her Oscar for Network in '76 cemented her as a queen of the screen. Sharp, fierce, unstoppable, but offset. She was a nightmare in heels. Crews dreaded her diva fits, yelling matches, thrown props, and a reputation for making assistants cry. The Mommy Dearest shoot in '81, where she channeled Joan Crawford, turned into a war zone. Some say she didn't act the rage, she lived it. It gets crazier. Word spread of her blacklisting directors who crossed her, and by the 2000s, ex-posts revived tales of her terrorizing Broadway casts, fired from one gig for allegedly slapping a co-star. Dunaway wasn't just intense, she was a volcano, erupting on anyone in her path, and there's more fire ahead. Number 8, Orson Welles.
That was pretty smart, wasn't it? Oh, the same old indigestion on it. These are the only things that help, these tablets.
Orson Welles was a genius. Citizen Kane rewrote the rulebook, and his booming voice owned radio and film alike. In the 40s, he was Hollywood's wunderkind, a director-actor with swagger and vision. But that brilliance came with a ruthless edge. He bulldozed collaborators, chewing out actors until they broke, like on The Lady from Shanghai, where Rita Hayworth bore the brunt. Whispers from the 70s, backed by 2020s biographies, claim he forced himself on a teenage Elizabeth Taylor, luring her with promises of stardom. That's not all. His ego sank projects. It's All True collapsed under his tantrums, costing RKO a fortune while he partied in Brazil. Welles wasn't just commanding. He was a puppet master who'd crush you to get his way. The next twist will floor you. 9, Errol Flynn.
Remember me? I'm the citizen who got slugged. Why don't you pick up the 2 thugs and ask them the why?
Errol Flynn was the ultimate swashbuckler. The adventures of Robin Hood made him a god of the screen, all charm and daring in the late 30s. Off-screen, He was a hedonist with no brakes. The 1942 statutory rape trial, 2 underage girls, rocked Hollywood. He walked free. But the phrase "in like Flynn" stuck for a reason. His appetite was insatiable. Booze, drugs, and wild parties at his mirrored mansion fueled tales of debauchery. It gets worse. Books like Errol Flynn, The Untold Story, allege he bedded teens as young as 15, including a tipsy Elizabeth Taylor, while dodging jealous husbands with a grin. Flynn didn't just live on the edge, he leapt off it, dragging others down with him. Buckle up, it's about to get wilder. Number 10. Peter Sellers.
It is obvious to my trained eye that there is much more going on here than meets the ear.
Peter Sellers was comedy gold. The Pink Panther and Dr. Strangelove showcased a manic brilliance that ruled the 60s and 70s. His voices and faces were magic, but his soul was a mess. 4 wives suffered his mood swings. Sophia Loren dodged his obsession, but Britt Eklund wasn't so lucky, calling him a nightmare who'd flip from charm to fury in seconds. The reason for this happened: a cocaine habit and a fractured mind. He'd trash sets, berate co-stars, and once chased his kids with a knife, per tell-alls from the 80s. It gets crazier. On Casino Royale, he clashed with Orson Welles so hard it tanked the film, all while he spiraled into paranoia. Sellers wasn't just eccentric, he was a ticking bomb, and everyone felt the blast. More shocks are coming. How did this rogues gallery, Wallace Beery, Charlie Chaplin, Kirk Douglas, Joan Crawford, Frank Fay, Mickey Rooney, Faye Dunaway, Orson Welles, Errol Flynn, and Peter Sellers keep their stars shining while their sins piled up? The studios were the real magicians, turning scandals into smoke. Beery's deadly brawl, hush money and a patsy, Chaplin's predatory flings. Legal wizards waved it away. Douglas's dark rumor, Crawford's family horrors, Fay's fall, all buried by MGM and Warner Brothers with bribes and threats. Rooney's reckless spree, Dunaway's tirades, Wells's manipulations, Flynn's lawless nights, Sellers' meltdowns. Studios spun lies, shipped troublemakers off, or staged fake stories to dodge the heat. The reason this happened? Box office gold trumped justice every time. That's not all. These cover-ups built a fortress of secrets, some still locked tight, begging to be cracked open. Hollywood's golden age handed us a glittering myth, elegant premieres, timeless films, and stars who seemed untouchable. But those 10 tales we've uncovered rip that illusion to shreds. From violent outbursts to predatory pursuits, ruthless tantrums to reckless spirals, these icons wore their fame like armor, hiding truths too ugly for the marquee lights. The studios were the architects of the masquerade, silencing scandals with cash, threats, and clever lies. Anything to keep the dream alive. Decades later, whispers on X and late-night deep dives keep pulling at the threads, proving that Golden Glow was built on a foundation of rot. It's a saga of dazzling highs and stomach-churning lows, a reminder that every frame of those classics hides a shadow. If you're hooked on peeling back Tinseltown's dark layers, hit that like, subscribe for more, and share this with anyone who loves a good Hollywood twist. So when you flip on an old flick, ask yourself, how many more secrets are still flickering behind the screen? That's a question that might just haunt you long after the credits roll.